The book contains quite a lot of information about microcredit because it's a very popular methodology for creating jobs and increasing incomes. On page 119, we begin looking at different types of microcredit, and as you look at these pictures, you see that some are at the level of very, very small loans that are part of community banks, some are part of solidarity group loans, which are slightly larger, and some of the bigger projects then are of individual loans that are given to a person who can employ several other people. Now, microcredit is complicated, and you'll see in the picture that behind the financing of these enterprises are staff who are involved in analyzing loans, the placement of loans, the collection of loans, providing consulting, providing training, and generally you need to have a professional service delivery organization like a small bank set up to be able to offer and successfully manage loans. The programs you're looking at, some of them are from Honduras, some are from Colombia, and some are pictures from other countries.
I can say that my loans have been a great help. They have helped me overcome, especially by taking the little I had and making it a little bigger. I don't have a diploma. Everything I've learned it on my own.
The case we're looking at on the screen and also in the book on page 147 is from the northern coast of Colombia and a project that's targeted at displaced peoples, people who have had to leave their towns and villages and come to the northern coast only with the clothes on their back. This project is managed on an efficient basis by a very small staff in the town of Barranquilla and is helping to create jobs and change the lives of literally thousands of people.
Muchas veces los niños están descalzos, mal arreglados.
Many times the children we see are barefoot, unkempt, and haven't eaten. But after their families have been in our program for a while, we can see these children dressed in clean clothes, wearing shoes, eating on time, and having their school supplies ready. All because their mother has much more time now to dedicate to them than before when she had to work outside her home. And so, yes, we've seen changes.
Candelario es un señor que vino desplazado por la violencia.
Candelario is a man who came to us after being displaced by violence, as so often happens here in our country. He came to the city after being displaced and started selling fish in his own neighborhood. He came to our organization and applied first for a loan of 300,000 pesos, which he used to buy fish to sell around his neighborhood. We then gave him a second loan, this time of 500,000 pesos. With this, he began a store within his own home, which his wife runs while he continues his fishing business. He is an example of someone we have really seen progressing in his family life as well as in his business. He also works at his church, and his wife works with children and youth there as well. Their children are part of this church's youth group.
At this time, we are serving about 4,000 children and about 1,500 families. We have about 360 volunteering leaders and about 22 people who run the entire organization.
Nuestro lema es que no solamente estamos dando dinero.
We're not just giving money through the credits, we're giving life.
Hi, I'm Chet Thomas. I'm the Director of Project Global Village. In Spanish, it's called Proyecto Aldea Global. And today we're out here in Flor del Campo, which is our office, urban office in one of the slums of Tegucigalpa. In this area of about 2 square kilometers, there's probably close to 50,000 people, which is more people than we work with in all the other areas that we work in Honduras. But it's an interesting area because this was an area where people migrated to from rural areas of Honduras. They came here looking for a better life. came here looking for the bright lights, perhaps, something, a hope of something better. They sold their rural farmlands and rural houses and everything and came here and ended up living in a shack on the side of a hill without any water, without any electricity, without any services, without any health services, basically without a job. And they came here looking for something better. About 70% of the families here are headed by single mothers, mothers that are trying to raise their families because the husband has simply abandoned the family and she's left with the responsibility of feeding and clothing and educating and basically getting these kids raised. And it's a real difficult problem, a very serious problem, because these are women who don't have any educational skills. They don't have much experience, work experience, so they're trying to do something which they don't have any preparation for. So that's, I think, where we've come alongside to provide them with a little bit of seed capital to set up a business. This business many times is not more than a little store which they run out of the front room of their house, and they sell things through the window, but through that they can keep their family alive and basically keep going. Other women have done things like begin to make cushions, they get into sewing, they make dresses, they make shirts, they make pants. We have one family that actually set up a small water bagging company. He sells bags of fresh water to people on the streets. All kinds of unique things like a mattress factory, a welding shop, different things like that. These are things which really create employment. And one of the things we feel most important, most strenuous about, is the fact that we need to create employment, because these cities, not only Tegucigalpa but all the other cities in the third world, one of the biggest problems is finding employment. You know, I think something we assume so much for granted in the United States is that we have unlimited opportunities to respond. We have opportunities of education when we're young, when we're growing up. Job employment we can find any kind of a job to keep ourselves going. But people here look for work and they can't find work. And women without any skills, especially mothers that are trying to raise their families, are the ones that are having the most difficult time of finding the kind of jobs to keep themselves going. Many times they end up making tortillas, which is a very hard job because you have to work over an open flame, open fire all day long, putting tortillas down, and you have to make an incredible amount of tortillas to make a small living to keep your family alive. Right now we have about 500 individual loans out, 500 individual businesses that are functioning that we're providing support for. A lot of the kids that live here in these slum areas, their biggest barrier from them to continue on with growth in their own personal lives is that of getting a good education. Kids really struggle to get through the 6th grade. And from the 6th grade on, many of the families simply don't have the money to send kids through secondary school. The government here guarantees education through the 6th grade, but the rest of it is something which isn't necessarily always available. God has blessed us and has shown us that there are things we can do, even if we don't have a lot of resources. We can basically reach out and do what we can with what we have, and I think that's all He asks us to do. You know, He didn't resolve all the problems, and we're not going to resolve all the problems, but He does ask us to try, and I think that's what we're trying to do here in Flor del Campo. So.